Good evening. Good evening. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, good evening. We are going to be talking about stress and how stress, let's see, I'm just going to. Good evening. Good evening. For those of you who are joining us, let's see. I am going to. Okay. Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I am going to talk today about stress. And I hope for those of you who are joining live, you can join in. And we have a special webinar tonight. And I think everybody needs to hear a little bit about strategies on how to manage stress. So before we start, I'm going to wait for people to jump on and see who is going to jump on tonight. And we have some information about the prefrontal cortex, and we're going to talk about that as well. We also are going to talk about techniques, easy ways, and how to manage stress. And then we're going to also talk about what is stress and how we can manage that. So a lot of times we don't realize that we're under stress, and the reason that happens a lot of times, we are so used to being stressed that we feel that we're not under stress, right? And so that happens when you have already become, the fight flight no longer exists inside of you. Now it's at freeze. And so when that happens, a lot of times you are under stress, but you're not feeling it anymore. So what will happen is you start feeling it in your body. Your body will start telling you and giving you like a switch on, and it'll start triggering pain. You'll start suffering from headaches, and we're going to go over that tonight. I'm going to wait for people to jump on, and I'm going to welcome the guests that are coming on tonight on Zoom. And we'll just wait here a little bit. We have an awesome webinar tonight. And I'm just going to wait we're starting this at 7 o'clock. So let me tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Jennifer, and I have been researching and studying natural remedies for about 8 years now. I'm a huge fan on juicing. I'm a huge fan on taking natural supplements. I love incorporating foods that my body needs. And at one point, I was extremely sick, and that is what brought me here today. And this is why I do what I do, because it is such a horrible place. It's such a horrible place to be when you're sick. It's horrible when you don't have answers. And when you're searching and you go to doctors and doctors are not giving you the answers, right? And I was one of those, I was a person who was searching to see what was going on with my body. Why was I feeling sick? Why was I suffering in pain? And at that time, hi, Samantha. At that time, I was dealing with an extreme amount of stress. And so as we wait for more people to join in, right now I'm live on YouTube. I went ahead and put it live so that people can start joining in for tonight's webinar. Let's see. Let me look at the view here. Hi. Hi, Brittany. Everybody that jumps on, we're going to give it a few minutes before we go into into the actual webinar tonight, and it's for stress less. And I think we all need to just stress less, right? Because stress is such a huge culprit for all types of illnesses. And right now, I think everybody just is on this level of stress, and it's causing so much chaos in the body, right? And I can vouch for that because um my research started about 8 years ago, a little over than 8 years ago. And um during that time I was under a load of stress. I did not know that I was actually stressing. And so you see, that's what happens. Sometimes I'm going to go ahead and press the record. I will answer anybody's questions once we're done with the webinar, and we'll go through this. We'll try to go through it as quick as possible. There's so much to just learn. And I think the most important part of living life is learning how to be still, right? And so I find from my research, I'm gonna press record. During my research, and I did massive studies on trying to figure out what was going on in my body, right? And so here I am going through stress. I'm not recognizing what stress is anymore because of so much of an overload of stress, a daily stress living, like living daily in a stressful environment, in a work situation, relationships, in home. There's stress at home. There's stress almost in every aspect, right? And so we as human beings, we get so used to it that we think it's normal. We think, oh, this is normal. I'm not really stressing. Like nothing really, really, really bad has happened to make my body go into a freeze. Freeze means that your body no longer it's not able to understand what stress is anymore. Like your body is used to it. Just like when you're eating unhealthy, your body will get accustomed to being able to eat unhealthy and not realize your body will not react anymore because it's so used to eating unhealthy, right? And that's basically how stress can be with the body. And tonight we're going to discuss that. Welcome, Brittany. Welcome anyone who joins. If you're joining live through YouTube, welcome. And I'm so glad you made it. I'm so glad that you're here, even if it's one person tonight, because I know that nothing is by coincidence. And I know that each and every one of us, we need some type of encouragement, and we need to understand and have discernment and recognize what is stress and how it's affecting our lives, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to go over a few strategies on how we can conquer stress, right? And everyone's going to tell me, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, right? Because I stress out every single day. I go to work and it's stressful. I come home and there's some stress going on at home. I'm in a relationship and there's stress or tension in the relationship, right? So it's most people would say it's almost impossible not to stress, right? But there is such a balance where we can balance the stress in our life, right? And so that's what I want to teach you today. I want to teach you on how we can manage it. I'm not By all means, I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending or diagnosing or saying anything that that we're going to get rid of it, but I am going to help you, and I'm going to help you with just the simplest things that we sometimes overlook. And I know it because I did it. I did it for a very long time. And if you do not know my story, you will know that I was a person who was always under stress. And if it wasn't mental stress, it was emotional stress. If it wasn't emotional stress, I was under physical stress because I was doing so many things and trying to conquer a daily accountability with myself, right, and with others. And so that's a huge one right there. I know that for a fact because if you have a family, you feel like you're accountable, like you need to take care of them, right? And that's our job, right? But we need to learn how to manage that without it affecting our nervous system, making our nervous system go into overdrive, right? Because when that happens, the exhaustion is just going to consume your entire body. And when that happens, when you are under overstress, the adrenals are going to burn out. You're going to go into burnout. And when that happens, then you're going to have the physical stress. And when physical stress attacks the body, this is what happens. You may be suffering with headaches. That's a huge one. I get this from a lot of clients. They tell me, I don't know why I have headaches. I get them randomly. I never had headaches before, and then they suddenly come on. And so the thing I ask a lot of times, I'll ask them, well, are you stressed out? Oh yeah, I'm stressed, but I'm always stressed, right? And so they think that it's okay to be stressed. Oh, it is. There is a certain amount of stress that our bodies can handle, but we need to be very careful, and we need to listen to our body. We need to learn how to listen. And I think that's huge because right now, I know that a lot of people are, one, they're on their phones. Two, they're on social media platforms watching all different types of things. And that alone can cause stress, right? And we are, especially females, are multitaskers. So we're trying to do like one thing over here, one thing over here, and we're doing like 3 to 4 things. And the mind is being overstimulated because we're going through various tasks. We're trying to do too many things at one time. And when we do that, we're actually causing a lot of damage to our brain cells. And we are causing, premature death. We're causing premature, dysfunctional issues in the brain like Alzheimer's, dementia, because we are multitasking, overly multitasking. So how do we manage this? How do we stop doing this, right? That's what this is all about tonight. And let me see, what time is it? It is 7:10. And so we're going to go through this first slide here on stress management. And I think we can go to the next one, Samantha. And so right here, this is the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And so the function of this, it's so crazy because if you look at the brain, it's shaped like a walnut, right? It looks like a walnut. And did you know that walnuts and nuts and anything that's like fat, it's extremely good for the brain. Avocados, um, I'm trying to leafy greens, anything that has amino acids is extremely good for the brain, right? And so a little bit about the prefrontal cortex. This is the main functions. It is 1/3 of the brain, right? And so it's it's our character control, basically. It's what how we react, how we respond to things, our decision making, our response to flexibility, our emotion regulation, our body regulation, um, the fear modulation. And so you can screenshot this if, in case you didn't know that this is the control center, right? It's a control center on how we respond to things. And a lot of times we are so, we're just like, we respond so quickly, that we're not giving ourselves a chance to process what's actually going on, right, in the subconscious mind. So this is something that I take note of this. And for those of you who don't know, this part of the brain, it is fully matured at the age of 25. So if you have children or you have siblings or younger, anyone that's younger than the age of 25, they're this part of the brain, it's still maturing. It's still maturing, right? And then the maturity ends at 25, right? That's what science says. Now, it's the decision making, it's the stress control module basically in your brain. It's how we acknowledge stress, right? And how our body does too. And so it also has an effect as far as our behavior, our personality. And a lot of times this part of the brain can have damage. And when that happens, that could be mood swings. You can have ADHD. There could be memory loss, fogginess in the brain, right? And so that means that some attention needs to be put into this part of the brain, right? And so my biggest thing is I'm always like, nurture your brain, nurture your body with what it needs, right? It's extremely important. And we're going to go over a little bit more here. Now, I have clients who tell me that they are suffering with high blood pressure, disrupted sleep, upset stomachs, irritable bowel syndrome, memory loss. And when you are under stress at a constant level, you are most likely going to get, or you're most likely going to develop high blood pressure. You have the increase to a heart attack. You also are draining your immune system. Your immune system is being attacked almost all the time. And so what happens is that your body has shields. And when you are under a great deal of stress, it is unable to, it can only protect so much. So it puts out a shield and it says, okay, I'm going to be able to take care of this much, this much, this much. But when you dump a bunch of stress in there, the body doesn't know what to do with it at that point, right? It's in confusion. It's out of tune. So we are going to go to the next slide. And here are some easy prefrontal cortex exercises. And I remember doing this for a while because I sustained a very, very horrible accident. And I remember at one point when I had this trauma, I had a concussion. I had my jaw, two fractures on my jaw. And I remember having problems with memory. And I was like, why am I having problems with memory, right? So I remember, excuse me, I have been talking all day, so I'll go in and out. But I remember my grandmother playing, doing crossword puzzles. And I just said, oh, well, why does she do crossword puzzles? Well, I decided to start doing my crossword puzzles. I found them on an app. I don't remember the name of the app. I know there's a few of them. And I started realizing that this is sharpening my skills, right? So that's really good. Strategic games, puzzles, memory word games, mindful reading books, journaling. It's the stimulation in the brain, but good stimulation, not bad stimulation. So we want to like not do that, because when we do a lot of arguing, fighting, overthinking, overanalyzing, worrying at a constant level, you are putting so much into the brain that it doesn't even know how to make the right decisions at this point, right? So we can go to the next slide. And what is stress? And stress it's defined as mental, physical, emotional, and behavioral reactions and perceived demands or threats. And I remember, this is my personal story. I remember when the doctor wanted to check my jaw, like he was checking my jaw because of the accident that I sustained. I remember my reaction. I would tighten my jaw so tight without even realizing. He's like, let it loose. And I'm like, I am. But I wasn't, my mind had already picked it up as a trauma. So since there was trauma in me from the accident, my brain was just perceiving as trauma. Don't touch my jaw because it has been, under trauma. And so that happens sometimes. Sometimes we're under so much, we've gone through trauma, maybe as a child. Maybe we were told things that, as we were growing up. And at the time, we did not perceive it as it was being instructed, right? And so we perceived it differently. Like, oh, let's say your parent said, you need to make good grades in school. So in your mind, you perceived it as like, oh my gosh, I need to make, I have to have the best grades in order to please my parents, right? And so you perceive that as that's part of like an inner child feeling. And so when you're out in the workplace, in home, you feel like I have to be good at everything. And let me tell you that that is a lie. You do not have to put that type of stress on your body. Your body, it has, each and every one of us, we all have, we all perceive things differently. We all have different characters. We're all different people, right? And as me, as a person, right, as a child, I perceived that. I perceived that as like challenged by my personal, by my parents saying, oh, you better make good grades in school. And so when I received that as an instant in my mind, in my brain, as this this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. And so this is already starting at a young age of overwhelming the brain with with great amounts of stress that we really don't need, right? Only because when what was told, I received it. My communicator, my frontal cortex, it said, hey, you need to be the best at this, right? And so that happens sometimes. We can go to the next slide. And so a lot of people don't understand that we have the fight flight response, but we also have a freeze. And so that's what I was talking about earlier when I first started this video. How are we reacting when something happens? It is normal if you are reacting. If you, let's say, you were in a car accident and you react. I mean, we have, our bodies are naturally made for us to react. But there are times that we overreact. And when we overreact, we are overstimulating the brain. So there's just like this fight response. And this is how you can tell when you're on a fight or flight response. It says, when situations seem threatening to us, our body reacts quickly to supply protection by preparing to take action. So this psychological reaction is known as a fight and flight response. The physiological response to a stressor is known as a reactivity, and the physiological response can accumulate and result in long-term wear on the body. And so that is something that I always tell my clients. I tell them, make sure that you are removing those extra worries that you have, because those worries are not going to help you. Like it is something that's temporary. Like, let's say something happens and you're worried about it. Let's say you're going through a financial situation and you're like trying to figure out, how am I gonna pay this, or how am I gonna get this done, or I just lost my job, how am I gonna take care of this? Our normal response is to worry, right? And we have to learn how to turn that off when we're overdoing it. It's okay to worry a little bit, but not to the point where it's causing you to feel sick, where it's causing you to have aches in your body, where it's causing you to have headaches, where your blood pressure is going high, where you're having disrupted sleep, where you can't even sleep because you're so stressed, right? And so this is where we need to listen to our bodies and know that this is overload for our bodies. And if we continue to go down this path of being stressed out all the time, we will end up with some type of disease. Unfortunately, a lot of people that have cancer have gone through trauma. They've gone through a lot of stress in their life or grief. Those are the main reasons. And yes, some people have genetic makeup. We all have genetic makeup, but our bodies, how we treat our bodies, what we put into our bodies, how we feed our mind is going to determine if that genetic makeup, that DNA is going to turn on, right? And so what we want to do is we want to keep the response off. So let's go to the next slide here. Now, sometimes we have deadlines. We have, we work in different environments. I personally used to work with a doctor, and I used to do their medical billing. And every end of the month, there was a deadline. And like all these accounts receivable, they needed to be put in by the end of the month, right? And so that was a little bit stressful. And that's okay to have those types of stress, but not the type of stress that is going to cause you to feel out of control, right? Because when we are under a great amount of stress, our body is going to eventually, it will alarm us. Sometimes, and this is what I see a lot of times, people are on this freeze. And freeze means that they are not feeling the stress anymore. They recognize stress as something normal. It's normal. I'm okay, right? But what happens is, after accumulation of stress, the body will say, I can't do this for you anymore. You've already dumped too much stress. I'm not going to be able to process this. And this is when the memory issues, foggy brain, high blood pressure comes in, headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, all of those things take place, right? And so learning how to control and understanding what is too stressful for yourself, because we're all different individuals. We all perceive stress differently. And also depending on your upbringing, if you were in a home where there was a lot of stress, a lot of fighting, um, a lot of demands, then your body is, you're naturally going to perceive that that is normal. So let's say if you were in a home and the normal was your parents arguing all the time, there's a lot of demands in the home, there's demands at school, there's all these things going on, and you jump into a relationship, you're going to think, you're going to perceive things like this is normal, and it's not normal. I can tell you that it's not normal. One, because I lived it and I had to learn what was normal and what is not, right? And so we're going to go to the next slide here. And so, like I said, you know, not all stress is bad. It is not all bad, but we do need to have, we need to learn how to use the prefrontal cortex of our brain and learning how to react, right? And so that's extremely important. So I always recommend my clients to say, hey, you guys, you know, you're going through stress. I get it. I know what stress is, right? Now, how can you take care of this? Should you write it down? Maybe you have a list of things that you have to do and you're trying to keep it all here, but you really can't. So what I often tell my clients, I say, write it down and put check marks and start check marking the things that you are getting done, because sometimes we feel like that. We feel like I I went through my day and I wasn't even able to pay my bill. I wasn't even able to make a phone call to make a payment on one of my bills, right? And so that will cause you to have an extra load of stress. So I always recommend people write it down, put your check marks, keep a note of what it is that you have to do, especially if it's causing stress. Um, Ask if you're, you know, if you're married or if you're in a home, ask other people to share some of the tasks that you have to do, right? Take some of the load off of yourself, because it is really, really, really not good for you. And so, you know, not all stress is bad, but then again, you definitely don't want to have you don't want to have over stress inside of your body, right? Because it's going to cause sickness. You can go to the next slide, Samantha. And we can go to the next slide. Okay. So a good example of stressful situations, we have our physical response, our behavioral response, our mental response, and then our emotional response. And so the physical response will normally, people will start having pain. Pain is a huge one. I experienced it, and I know that pain can be caused by stress, and it intensifies the stress. Now, some people are suffering with injuries. They have injuries to their body, and due to the injuries, they do have pain. So if you're going through a physical response of stress, and then you have the mental response, now you have two things going on, and that is going to cause a lot of stress in the body, and the body is not going to know how to respond to it. So then that's when your behavioral or emotional response comes into place. And emotional, you could be maybe crying, you could feel frustrated, angry, um, out of character. And behavioral is the same. You know, you might want to start doing things that you never did before, right? Not good things, because stress is going to cause you to have the wrong type of behavioral responses. You can go to the next slide. And so this is just a list of what is stressful to you. And some people work, some people have classes, studying, relationship with partners, relationship with friends, trauma, a change in residence, change in a home, change in the amount of social activities. And I can vouch that a lot of people went into, when COVID took place, it just stressed everybody out and it put them into a lot of fear, right? And so some people are still trying to overcome that right now. Unfortunately, some people have not been able to overcome the COVID pandemic. You know, it really did put a mark on the whole world. And then we have roommates, childcare, finances, your parents. That's a huge one. I know that a lot of people stress about their appearance. They stress about their physical health, not fitting in, um, getting married, change to a new school, change in eating habits, legal matters, mental health, law violations, spiritual, religious issues, major career decisions, like having to change what you're currently doing or what you want to do, attitudes, thoughts, buying a house, and change in the amount of recreation, death of a friend or a family member. So that's a lot of stress. If you are going through any of those things, that can really put some stress on the body. So the best way to try to eliminate that is knowing how to react and back to the prefrontal cortex, and it's just nurturing that and learning how to balance what you have going on in life right now. You can go to the next slide. Why do we stress out? Two major reasons. We perceive a situation as a dangerous or difficult or painful, and we don't believe we have the resources to cope. So that is ultimately true. There's not enough resources, unfortunately. Coping mechanisms. It's hard for somebody who is used to stress to jump out of their comfort and decide to take the next step and get themselves out of stress. So it's kind of like a drug. Let's put it that way. It's like you're addicted to a drug, you're trying to get off the drug, but you keep going back. So stress is the same way. It's like you're addicted to stress, you don't know how to cope with it. And so you keep going back and allowing stress to live in your life. And that's a big no-no. So really, really bad for us and for our bodies and for the people that we're around, because stress not only affects us, but it affects the people we're living with and the people that we talk to and the anyone that we socialize with in general. So we need to learn how to cope with that. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Hi. We're like in the middle of the thing, but you can go ahead and listen.
Okay.
Anyone who joins, I'm still going to have the actual video. So since you missed like part of it, we'll go ahead and email it to you so you can watch the beginning, because we did talk about the prefrontal cortex and the decision making of the brain and how that's our personality character center, right? So you can go to the next slide, Samantha. So stress warning signals. What are red flags and warning signs that stress is creeping into your life? If we keep pushing ourselves, eventually something inside of use will send red flags and warnings, signs that stress is becoming a problem. And like I shared earlier, that was me. My body went into complete pain And doctors, they call this is called fibromyalgia. And so when that happens, the nervous system is it's shut. It's basically shut. And so what happens is you start feeling pains in your hands, you have pain up in here, you have pain in the lower back, you have it in your knees, you have it in your legs. It's just everywhere, right? And then you become hypersensitive, that when people, even with the touch, it's painful. And I experienced that. I went through that. I went through fibromyalgia. And I'm actually going to have a webinar on that, because a lot of ladies, they think that there's no way out. And there is hope when stress gets to this level, right? That's how your body feels. Yes. And so that right there, Jessica, that can be I'm not saying that it's fibromyalgia, but it's kind of like pinpointing that your body, you're under you're under exhaustion, and stress has taken over not only the physical, I mean the mental, but now it's physically attacking your body, meaning you have perceived stress for so long, you have had so much amount of stress that now it's affecting your physical. And that is something you have to really, you need to listen to your body, and you need to learn how to react to stress, how to turn down the volume in your body, in your mind. And there's techniques that you can do, and it does take dedication. It's not going to happen by saying, I'm just not going to stress out no more. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, because our mind just picks it up like that, because we're so used to it, right? You can do the next slide, Samantha. And so here are some suggestions for reducing stress: finding a support system, finding someone to talk about your feelings and your experience. Sometimes we are lonely and we don't have no one to talk to, and that can put damage on us, because we're human beings, and we're supposed to be around humans. We're supposed to be talking with each other, be experiencing things together, socializing. And I know that was a huge thing when the pandemic hit. It really affected a lot of people, and so that's, finding a support system is great. That is why I created the Bible studies as well, because I feel like that's a great place where we can communicate, and we can also learn about, God, and how we can heal with the word, right? And so let's go to the next slide. Changing your attitude. This is a good one, because changing your attitude, now that requires you. I can't do that for you. Find other ways to think about stressful situation. Life is 10% of what happens to us, and 90% of it is how we react to it. So subconsciously, we don't realize that we are overreacting to a lot of things in life. And that's why we need to turn the volume down. It's extremely important. If you don't, it will take over you. It will take over your life. It will take over your mental health, and it will physically paralyze you, where you're not going to want to go or do anything, right? Next slide. So here's some suggestions for reducing stress. First, you need to be realistic. Set practical goals for dealing with situation and solving problems. Develop a realistic expectation for yourself and others. So I always tell people this: turn off your lens in your eyes. Like, how we see things, turn it off for just a minute and turn on the spiritual eyes, right? Because when you do that, you will not find the ugly in everyone. You will start learning to love people more. You will not find fault in people. You will not be as judgmental, right? And even to yourself, you need to turn it off and you need to be realistic, right? When you're going to do something, like let's say your goal now is like, for now on, I am going to unwind and eliminate stress, right? And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to set a goal, but you want to set something that's realistic. You don't want to do something that's over your expectations, and then you drive yourself to more stress, because that's not going to help you at all. So next slide. So you just need to do something that's very, 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 very realistic. And I mean, the smallest things matter. And one of the things was like, I personally, my phone, I think I got traumatized at one point where my phone was always ringing, right? Because for 15 years, I was doing accounting, tax returns, insurance, and it was like ding, 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 and call after call. And I just decided, you know what? I'm turning it off. I'm turning my phone, I'm turning it to like a snooze, basically. And so, what I've learned to do, and this is something you can do, you can put your phone on do not disturb and decide when you want to socialize. So also getting organized and taking charge. Being unorganized or engaging in poor planning often leads to frustration and crisis situations, which most of us always leads to feeling stress. Plan your time, make a schedule, establish your priorities. And I mean, if you could see my office right now, I have this little thing behind me because that's what I do. I have so many, like, I have sticky notes everywhere. And my kids will tell me, Mom, you have writings everywhere. And I do, because I'm the type of person that ideas will come in, and things that I need to do will come in, and things that other people need to do will come in. And so the only way that I am able to grab all of that and make it logical is by writing it down. I cannot keep it in my brain. If you ask me what I need to do tomorrow, I have no idea. But I have these, and these will tell me because I've written them down, and I've learned to practice that because it really, really helps, right? And let's say you work from home and you're like, well, I don't really have a schedule, or I just have my set schedule from home, and this is what I do. Try to do the opposite effect. Now, this is not taught a lot. I know this for a fact because I tell my clients to do this. If you are not feeling good and you normally would stay home, try an opposite effect. Do something that you normally would not do. And I don't mean something bad. I'm talking about like go out, go to a store, go to a bookstore. Do the opposite. Instead of laying in bed or staying in bed upset or frustrated or stressed out, you do the opposite, right? And when you do that, you're going to recognize that the memory in your brain, it has this memory, and it's saying like, hey, wait a minute. When Jennifer gets stressed, Jennifer likes to eat. But let's say I do the opposite and I said, I'm not going to eat this time. So now you're changing how you're reacting, right? And so that's the simplest way I can explain that to you, because there's really, it's just a change of your own character, like switching the switch in your brain, right? And so it's just as easy as that. It can be just as easy. And we can go to the next slide. Giving suggestions for reducing stress. I always tell people, take breaks, give yourself time, give yourself me time. Do not live your life trying to do 100 things at a time. Learn to take time for yourself. rejuvenate, relax, take baths, hot baths. Um, give yourself time to recuperate, especially if you had a stressful day. If you had or you're going through stress every single day, you need to find time in your day for you. It's extremely important. You need to give yourself those breaks because you deserve it. And nobody's going to tell you to take the breaks. No one's going to tell you, hey, you need me time. No, you need to tell yourself that. You need to say, hey, I had a long day. I'm going to put everything away. I'm going to put my phone away. I am going to go outside, relax, take a deep breath. I'm going to go watch TV if that's what you like to do. Everybody has their go-to. Me, I like to be outside. When I'm like if I feel like I had a stressful day, I'm sitting on my porch. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to relax. And if I'm going to be disturbed by anybody else in my home, then I'm going to my other space, which is in the back of my house, right? And so that's what you have to do. You have to kind of like find your how do you take your breaks? And what is your me time? What is important to you? What's important to Jessica? What's important to Samantha? What's important to Jennifer, right? And give yourself that break because you'd be surprised how much the body can recuperate when you give yourself a break. Next slide. And then, of course, taking good care of yourself, eating properly, regular rest. If you are having trouble with sleeping, I highly recommend that you try something natural for sleeping because sleep is crucial. I mean, you definitely need sleep. Sleep is it's what's going to heal your body. If you're going through pain, if you're in pain, then you definitely need rest. And that is how your body will heal faster. The more sleep you get, the faster your body recuperates. If you are mentally stressing, like say you're doing 8 hours on the computer or on the phone, or you're reading or you're studying, whatever it may be, and it's mental stress, you need to give yourself a break. I don't know, put some music on, dance, laugh, like they say a child laughs, I want to say 300 times in a day. And that's amazing, right? And us as adults, I think some of us have a hard time laughing, and laughing just produces so much. It heals the body, right? And you can see there's people, I know people that they eat horrible, but they're always laughing. And I'm just like, wow, I need to be more like you so I can eat whatever, right? But no, so let's go to the next slide. Enjoying your time, you guys. Learning how to say no. Now, this was my problem. I was a person that would not say no, and I still have trouble with it, but I have made such a huge improvement. I work on myself. I try to work on myself daily because this is our body and our mind, and nobody knows what it feels to be you, right? Me personally, that was my problem. People pleasing, trying to help everybody in my family, at the workplace, when I was working. And I still do it now, but I do it because I choose to teach and help people. This is a different type of, it's different. It's not the same as like, hey, will you go pick up this? Or hey, can you go drop off so and so? Or hey, can you go to the store? You know, uh, all these different tasks that sometimes we get from family members or the people that live with us, or just anybody in general, workplace. You've got to learn how to balance that and learn to say no. Remove toxic people out of your life. It will benefit you later. You might not see the benefits right now if you're like, well, I don't want to remove this person because this is the person I talk to. But if this person is being toxic, then you're not going to serve yourself any good. It's going to backfire on you at the end of it, right? So learning how to say no, that's a huge one. And then we can go to the next slide. Getting regular exercise. Now, I know this one can be a little hard for some people because I myself struggled with exercising at one point, and then there was a time that I was over exercising, and that became a problem too. So, learning how to find balance in between that. If you are struggling with a lot of stress, mental stress, I don't recommend a lot of exercise. I recommend breathing techniques. I recommend stretching. I recommend swimming. I recommend dancing. I don't recommend that you go run miles because you're going to put physical stress and then you having mental stress, and that's not going to do yourself any good. Exercising it does help reduce stress, but you need to learn how to balance that. So if you're already mentally, like extremely mentally stressed, I don't recommend high intensity exercises or anything like that. I recommend that you rest. I recommend that you do breathing techniques. I recommend that you do stretching and just small things. And then you work your way up, right? As you start eliminating stress from your life. Next slide. And then also, sometimes people they don't have a hobby. Unfortunately, that's a huge one. The hobby is being on Facebook, being on Instagram, being on TikTok, on YouTube. That's their hobby, and that's not a healthy hobby. A healthy hobby is like um, maybe writing, um, drawing, painting, um, planting, gardening, doing something that you would normally not do, right? For years, my hobby was just creating more income, right? And I noticed that every time I picked up a hobby, I was like, okay, well, I picked up this hobby, but now I'm gonna put it to use, right? And so, but really, we should try to find a hobby that we actually enjoy. And so one of my hobbies, I personally, and I have like this big old picnic basket, and it's full of all types of beads and bracelets. And I always like making this type of stuff because it I don't know, it just helps me unwind, but at the same time, it, it it's kind of like soothing. It's soothing and I like it, right? And so I've had this hobby since I was like 20 years old. Oh wow, that's awesome, Jessica. Yes. Zumba instructor. Let's do some Zumba. We need to have a Zumba class. That is super awesome. We need to do some online Zumba. I like that. I love Zumba. Even though I don't know how to do all the moves, but I do love it, right? Because it's fun. It gets you pumped up. It's dancing. Dancing, it moves the lymphatic system.
It
It is,
helps a lot.
oh yeah, it
It
definitely
does.
does.
Yeah.
So
So
you're,
I'm gonna get my certification on the 3rd of
oh,
May.
wow.
So yeah, I already signed up and everything. Cause I had the credit.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I wasn't able to attend the last class, so they moved me for the 3rd of May. So I'm gonna do that. I've always wanted to become a Zumba instructor. So gracias a Dios, now I have the opportunity. So I mean, yes,
Wow, that's awesome. I
yes,
love that. I love that. I'll join your Zumba classes, but you're gonna have to
yes,
work with me, girl, because
yeah.
I have had so many injuries that, and the thing about me is I'll go join a Zumba class and
Uh-huh.
I'll get too into it, right? And then the
Yes.
next day I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And so obviously, the first reaction is like, okay, I'm not going to do Zumba because I'm
Mhm.
injured, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I've learned there's Zumba classes around here. I've learned like, okay, when you do Zumba, Jennifer, you're not doing it like you're a pro.
No,
Let's
you
do the
take it
baby
slow.
steps. Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's like
Wow.
me too, because I have well, I mean, I don't know if I told you before about my knee. I mean, I messed up my knee a couple of times because of Zumba years back. But
Mm-hmm.
now I know how, like, I need to do it slowly
Yes,
because I don't want it, to get messed up again. But with the supplements that I'm taking, I mean, it's helping me también.
that's good.
So, like you were saying about that sometimes people feel alone, and I guess me working from home and both not having my mom with me nor my oldest brother, I feel like that sometimes.
Yes. And it's very hard. It's hard when you feel alone. And believe it or
Mhm.
not, even people who have a lot of people around them,
Yes.
they feel alone too because they I just had a conversation earlier with a certain sibling,
Uh
and
huh.
I'm trying to share something with them and it's like they did not hear, you know. So I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'd rather not say anything, that it's like that. But it's good to surround yourself with a group of people that you can trust
Yes.
and be able to
Mm-hmm.
communicate, because that's what we need. We're human beings, and we're communicators, and
Yeah.
we need that in our life. And I feel that a lot of people are lacking that right now. And
Yes.
I'm hoping that here I can create something like have it like more like a safe place. But I want to do
Mhm.
it also online, because I feel like a lot of people are online, and I think
Yes.
that's like an outreach right now. um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But thank you, Jessica, for sharing that with us. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And sometimes we just need to slow down, right? And I talked about that earlier, like how we tend to try to just do too many things. And your body is going to tell you when you're doing too many things. It literally is going to say, hey, enough is enough. I've had and it'll throw you in bed. If that happens, if you get thrown in bed and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure what I did or why I'm so tired. I slept last night and the night, well, yeah, but a week ago you were stressing over a lot of things and your body said, I'm sorry, but I'm not working for you today. I need to rest. So our body will let us know when we are overconsumed with stress, right? Next slide. And then laugh, like I told you guys earlier, like children laugh all the time. And so doing something that's going to add some laughter in your life, right? Even if it's watching a funny, ridiculous movie, then just as long as it's making you laugh, I think, it's good. That's good. Laughing it's huge. And we're emotional, we're humans. We have so many emotions, and that emotion needs to be exercised so much, the laughter. And you'd be surprised how much joy it can bring into your life. Next slide. And then just learning to relax, meditation, quiet time. Um, if you are spending too much quiet time, then you need to get out, right? And there's the cool part about what I think about like the social media platforms is that now we have access to like find out what is going on. And I think a long time ago we would have to go and look in the newspaper and find out like, oh, this event's going on, or let's find out in the yellow pages, right? But now we're in an era, it's like everything is on Facebook, everything is on Instagram. So in reality, there's a lot of things we can do, and we just need to find what is your interest, and learn to relax. If you like to window shop. I know like tonight there was an event I was invited to, and it's just art and vendors and people who make organic things, and I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. And just to get out for a couple of hours and just get away from your normal, what it is that you normally do. Now if you never have time for yourself, then you definitely need the quiet time. And I try to practice that as much as possible as well. We can go to the next slide, Samantha. Relaxation exercising is deep breathing. I always tell people, especially if they suffer with allergies, lung conditions, wheezing, constant getting colds, I tell them you need to breathe deep. You need to breathe you need to be able to see the stomach move. If it's not moving, that means that you're shallow breathing. And shallow breathing, it just causes so many problems. And it'll cause respiratory issues. But not only that, it causes anxiety, and it also causes your heart rate to go up. So, or down. So you deep breathing is an amazing way to have those types of relaxation exercising. Visualizing is a nice way to give your mind and your body like a mini vacation, and sometimes if you can't visualize it, then you should draw it. I like to draw. I have all types of little scribbles and doodles and stuff, but that's the way I visualize things, is by actually mapping it out and drawing it. I don't really I do see it, but I'm more of a person who I have to write it in order to experience it. Next slide. And so stress management, the next steps, try to change the way you appraise a situation and make it less stressful. Remember that stress is normal, but watch out for the symptoms of stress. Using coping skills and ways to reduce stress, practice relaxation techniques. And that's very crucial, because we as humans, we're like those, we're just always at it. Like we're at battle with our own self sometimes. And we need to stop doing that and just start learning how to recover from just the regular stress. Imagine normal stress, and then the situations that are extremely stressful, like when we lose somebody that we love, that's grieving, and that's very stressful, and it's very hard on the body. And I personally have experienced that. I have lost both of my parents, and I know the stress behind that and how it affects your body. And you got to jump on it. Like you got to catch yourself. If you're going through that, you need to see, that they're in a better place, and it's hard without them, but you're going to not let that be your stress all the time, right? And I just had that conversation with my husband earlier. I told them, I really miss my mom, because she was like the female that I would talk to, right? And now that my daughter moved out, it's like she's the person, right? And then the rest is just boys. So it's like I need to have my girl time. Like I was telling him, I said, it's not the same. And so I try to find, put myself in different places where I can meet people that I think that will be a blessing to me, and I will be a blessing to them, right? So it's good to try to find different strategies for yourself, because we're all different. Next slide. And then here are my herbal teas. And these are the 3 teas that I love that help with stress. Um, I'm all about natural healing. I'm all about herbal. I even got certified as a herbalist, because I got so interested in just learning. And that's That's my weakness is that, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but I love to learn. And so I'm always exercising that part of my brain. And when I learned about flowers and planting and gardening and micro farming, and I was just like amazed with the benefits and how each and every one of them do something for our body and how our body can heal naturally. And I was just blown away by it. And when I created natural blends, I created it with intention of helping people. I created it like these are my favorite. This is my favorite stuff. This is what I like, and this is what works for me. Because if I get out my herbalist book, there are so many herbs in the world. It's insane. Every region, every part, every country has a certain herb that they go to, right? And these are my go-tos. These are natural blends. These are what I go to. And so I have my chamomile tea, right? And that one, it helps with tension. Like if you have tension in your muscles, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, or you have like your stomach easily gets upset because of stress, chamomile is going to be your go-to, right? Lemon balm works similar, but it has more of a like it's more for stress, I guess you could say. I like to combine both of them. And when I make a tea, I'll put lemon balm and I'll put chamomile. I'll combine them together. And it just feels like if I had a day that I know, like I know when I'm in stress, like I can feel it on my body. If I had that day and I'm just like, oh, I just need to relax, I'm going to make myself some tea and I'm going to go sit on my porch and I'm just going to feel my shoulders are just going to drop and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel better. I feel so good. Like, what is this, right? It's natural and it's healing and it's better than taking pharmaceutical medication. And then passion flower, it's wonderful for sleeping. Some people like it for, and I have clients who have anxiety or had anxiety and they love passion flower. They tell me it works miracles for them. I personally like it at bedtime. So everybody's different. So that's why when I decided like what herbal teas will I show, you know, these are the three. Which one works for you? I don't know because we're all different, right? And so these are my top three favorite ones. These are the ones I recommend. And I personally, my favorite is chamomile with lemon balm combined. That is my go-to so that it just gives me, and I can drink that in the daytime and it's not going to make me drowsy or anything. The passion flower, on the other hand, it makes me drowsy. So I would assume that it might make other people drowsy as well. Next slide. And then here's our nature's stress relief package, right? And I think, Jessica, I know you've have tried the ashwagandha and the reishi. I don't know if you've tried the lion's mane. I don't remember, but I know that you have tried these products, right?
Yes, but I haven't tried the lion mane.
You haven't tried the lion's mane? Oh my
No.
gosh.
But
Okay.
remember what I told you about the ashwagandha? Like, I mean, it did help me a lot, and then it helped me a lot, like, I don't know, um, my sex life, casi.
Oh, okay. Yes, because it helps with your hormones. It helps with your hormones. So like if you have low libido, yes,
Uh-huh.
it is gonna increase your sexual drive, which that's a good thing because it's very healthy.
And I need to get it because I mean, también me ayuda for my anxiety, my stress también. And
Yes.
that's the only thing I need. I'm missing because I mean, I have the rest supplements.
Yes.
Pero that package, how much does it come out to?
Um, Good question. Let me see. I don't even know how much we have it on the website, but
Oh,
I have did I don't know if we added the tea to this package on my website, but like just here, like on, I'll tell you. For
Because
this
I think that one,
package,
it was
it's,
65, no?
I don't know if we have it, how we have
Oh,
it listed. I know that the lion's mane is 30 and then the
okay.
other two are 25.
25,
Yeah.
50,
So it comes out to
85.
like, um, yeah, no, it comes out to 80. Yeah, like 80 bucks.
80. See.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, that's that package there. I think this is probably the best package for
Mm-hmm.
anybody that's dealing with stress on a daily basis.
Yes.
But what I like about Lion's Mane is that it helps you focus. It helps you focus. So Lion's Mane, I always tell my clients, take it in the daytime because you're going to notice that instead of feeling like scattered brained all over the place, it's going to help you focus. Now, if you're not having problems with focusing, then you can just do the ashwagandha and the reishi, right? But lion's mane also has benefits for as an antidepressant. It helps with inflammation. It helps your nerves in the nervous system repair them as well. So it does a lot other things. Plus, it protects you from cancer. So like it has multiple benefits. And I've had people who even have ADHD. They take it and they say it works. They love it. I had a lady that she combines the lion's mane and the reishi, and I do too. Um, and she said she just noticed it instantly. Within 2 days, she already noticed like a huge difference. I was like, wow, she must have been under a lot of stress because for you to be able to recognize this instantly, that means you're really stressed out, but it
Yes.
really helps you unwind. And then the ashwagandha, what it's powerful part of ashwagandha is that it helps bring down the cortisol levels in your body. And so when that happens, then you're able to regulate the rest of the hormones. And that's why you'll have like your libido is going to be good. Your hormones are going to regulate. You also will notice that you're not catching a cold as fast because now your hormones are all up and working properly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see like a huge difference. Um, so yeah, this is my stress relief package. And with this package, we you're going to also add the tea, like if you need it, like to go to sleep. If you have
Mm-hmm.
problems falling asleep, then I would add like the passion flower tea, right? Or the lemon balm. Those would be like more to go to sleep type of um to help you go
To
to sleep.
relax. Oh,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
well, yeah, well, to go to like if you have like insomnia, the reishi is going to help with insomnia, but just like to go like directly to sleep, you would definitely want to add the tea along with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's my nature stress relief package. And I personally I use all these products. I would not sell products if I didn't use the products,
Mm-hmm.
me myself. And I'm a huge believer in natural remedies. I'm a huge believer that our body is under so much stress. We didn't even get to go over like environmental stress, toxic stress from like plastic, from the food, the contamination from the water, like all that puts stress on our body. So our body is not only having to fight mental stress, but it's also having to fight all the other stress like environmental, radiation, you name it, right? I don't want to scare people, so I'm not going to go all the way into that. But it it helps it the supplements, they really help you. They help you in the sense where you don't have to take them forever. I would say that you don't. Like me personally, I take them and then I'll stop when I don't need them and then I'll take them again. But I stay consistent for 3 months first because if
Oh,
I like when I recently had the surgery, my body shot up stress, like it perceived like, oh, pain, I just had surgery. I was in a lot of pain. So right away I started taking all my supplements, even though I was told not to. I took them and I can vouch and I'm going to have to take pictures of my incisions where they did the hysterectomy. I can show you how fast and how good my like the wound, it healed. So I mean, I was amazed. I was just like, wow.
wow.
I was like, wow, but I was being also consistent. I was putting castor oil on them, um,
Mm.
taking my supplements, drinking my juices, drinking the smoothies, all of that stuff, right? And then I don't know, do we have another slide, Samantha? I think that was the last slide, right? So one more thing that I want to add to this, and I know that a lot of times this is not taught, um, is the hydration in your body, right? And
Mm.
hydration is key. You need to keep your body hydrated. If you do not like water, I know, and I talk to people and I ask them, how much water do you drink? And they're like, oh, they only drink like a bottle like this a day. I'm like, there's no way. Like your body needs water. It needs water. Find different ways where you can get those minerals. Now, I know you, Jessica, I know you're taking the CMOS. The CMOS
Yes.
has 92 minerals. So that's going
Mm-hmm.
to hydrate you. That doesn't mean don't drink water. It just means
No.
that you're getting some extra hydration. So you should feel
Mhm.
really, really good. Right. Um,
Yes.
so hydration is extremely important for the brain. Without the hydration, you're not the you're not putting electricity into the body. Basically, you're not electrifying your all your cells and everything. You're mineralizing the body and the cellular levels. They need it. We need water, so that's extremely important. I found that some of my clients were highly, like, extremely dehydrated, and
Mm-hmm.
once they started hydrating themselves, and I mean, just making the simplest change. I had one lady told me, I told her, okay, you're going to start off drinking 2 quarts of water a day and check up on her. And she's like, oh my God, I feel amazing, and she was taking a few supplements. But I told her, really, honestly, the water is what's doing, really good for your body.
Exactly.
So yes, so hydrating. So tomorrow we'll be having another webinar, and this was today's webinar, and then we'll go into a little bit more as far as the how we can manage stress. That was some of the some things on how to manage stress. There's a lot more, and um I do recommend, like, if you are having tons of stress and it's causing the physical pain in your body, I do recommend that you start, implementing what we talked about tonight, right? And start with a small goal, write it down and try to tackle that. Try
Mhm.
try to worry less. And let me stop this right now real quick.